Welcome back to the Direct Assault Talk Show. This is going to be episode 2. My name is DA Heroic, aka Noah. I'm going to be one of your co-hosts for today. I'm joined by DA Ignite again, aka Jaden.
What up, guys?
DA Free Smoke, aka David.
What's up, guys?
And RP Maddie, our guest speaker, aka Maddie.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, of course. So Maddie is the creator, founder, commentator, and everything like that for the Real Player ESports tournament pages, the competitive games that we talked about that we played in last episode. So we brought him on because the topic of today's episode is going to be different play styles, and we figured he would have a different take on the playstyles because he's able to see how everyone plays during the tournaments. Throughout the week, I thought of the different playstyles, and you have your aggressive playstyle that a lot of people like to do, especially in public lobbies. A lot of people play with aggressive playstyles, but in a competitive scene, you're going up against high tier players. An aggressive playstyle, it might get you. You're going to push a lot of fights. You're going to try to get as many kill points as possible. But in pushing a whole bunch of fights, you're going to go through your throwables. You're going to go through your utility. You're going to wear down your armor, your helmet. You might run through a decent amount of ammo. And the guys you kill might not have that same ammo type. So you're using a lot of your stuff. So you might not get high placement points with an aggressive playstyle. But you'll probably net yourself a good amount of kill points if you're good enough. And then on the flip side of that, you have a bit of a passive play style. As the circles condense and you go through the different phases throughout the game, you're looking for placement. You're trying to find that compound that has hard cover. You're looking to get high placement points, but you're not really looking for fights. You kind of want to maintain 4 up as you get into the final circle or phase 8. So you're probably going to maintain your utility. You'll maintain probably pretty decent armor, a pretty decent helmet, and you'll keep your ammo. But you might not net yourself high kill points. You might get 1 or 2 going into there, thinking or hoping that the kills will come as the game progresses. And then a mix of the two, you kind of have your tactical play style. You're looking to get high placement points and high kill points. You might try to third party a fight from range. You won't necessarily back down from a fight. If you need to take one, you'll take one. If the opportunity to completely wipe a team presents itself, you'll go for that. But you're also trying to get the hard compound with the hard cover going into to try to progress yourself into the further phases. So those are the 3 different kind of play styles I thought of. Myself and Ignite were on the same league team, so we have slightly a bit more of a tactical play style, depending on different things like flight path and stuff like that. We might lean a little bit more towards aggressive, or we might lean a little more towards passive, kind of depending on information that we gather on teams. Free Smoke, what kind of play style do you think you tend to have?
Well, my team is definitely aggressive. I try to be aggressive the whole time, honestly. But I mean, it can pay off really good if we stay in placement, which we usually do. But then again, because we usually try to get in a fight at the beginning, at least get one team out the way, get 4 kills on the board.
Try to at least make it so you're getting points. And then we'll hang out
for a little bit more. Like, we're not going to go straight balls to the wall from the beginning to the end. But, I mean, we try to rotate earlier, fucking try to get anybody coming in. Just try to scrape up points like that, for real.
How do you think that pays off for you? Do you think it generally tends to go really well for you guys? I mean, I know the guys on your team are generally pretty decent players. So do you think it's very beneficial for you guys to have that sort of play style?
Right now, yeah, because I really like my team. I think we all work really good together.
Is everyone on your team have an aggressive play style, or do you have that guy who might think tactically or have a bit of a passive play style that tries to, hey, maybe we shouldn't be taking this fight. Maybe we're just getting a little too aggressive.
I mean, like for the first probably 3 circles, we'll chill if we don't have to fight anybody at the beginning. I don't know. I think it works out.
So, Maddie, so like I said, you're the commentator and the host of the tournaments that we play in. And being in that position, you get to see a lot of things that us as the players naturally don't get to see. So, from throughout the different tournaments that you've hosted and the 2 different league seasons, you've seen teams, or let's say the organizations, the clans that are very consistent. You've seen how they play. Go ahead and talk to us a little bit about the play style that you see some players implementing and how that works for them.
I think like most organizations, you see play style evolve, and I've really seen the play style evolve because of various factors. And, you guys mentioned a handful of them, and I think a few of those factors that we know about are obviously the maps, which match it is it cash or not? That's going to depend on the aggressive levelness of players, but equally, we've seen teams transition and free agents get picked up, and teams look for certain characteristics and traits and molds to form. And once they get a good team, you really see them start to change as kind of history progresses and they enter more tournaments. So in the early days of Real Players Esports, in the very early days, you saw a lot more camping. You still saw the aggressiveness, but it was different. Now that things have evolved more and players know players more, and we've been around for a while, players have been able to recruit, and now guys are pretty aggressive for the most part. I would say 70% of teams play fairly aggressive. They realize the benefit of that third-party payoff. They're willing to take the risk. Most of them have that are entering like the RPL, the cash tournaments, are pretty seasoned players, so they have the confidence to make that push. And equally, you don't want to over push and you don't want to get too risky because we all get hungry when we get a couple kills. But I've seen teams get more aggressive as time has passed since the beginning.
So like they've kind of got confident in their play style and their skill, and they've evolved from
Absolutely.
there.
There's definitely a difference between
Absolutely.
being dumb aggressive and being smart aggressive too.
Yeah.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
Yeah, like dumb aggressive would be,
Just
let's
pushing absolutely
yeah,
everything.
Deep outside the
absolutely everything.
zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, low
Deep
cover, no
outside the
trees,
zone,
no
no
rocks, out in
time.
the open on foot.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, guys have gotten smarter.
I would definitely agree. So would you say that it complements a team to have all 4 of their players to have an aggressive style, or all 4 of their players to have a passive style, or all 4 of their players to have a tactical style? Or would you say a nice mix to kind of balance it out would be nice?
I think I think if you had one aggressive person, at least if you're a passive team, that can really put some shots down.
I like that, but I think one thing that might not help with that is if you have one person, the other 3 people, they might try to be like, okay, I'm going to go on this roof and I'm going to try to lay down some cover with my SKS or something like that. And then this guy is pushing or trying to push or trying to get an angle by himself. And then if he gets knocked, no one's really going to be with him to try to cover him, try to toss some smokes or some grenades to stem the tide of the other team pushing forward, and then
Yeah, I
there's
think that
one
would have
player
to be a
down.
discussion between the team, and they would just have to, like, the aggressive person would just have to be willing to hang with them until it got down to what you got to do.
How do you guys think a perfect team layout? Let's say all 4 players are good. They're all good in their own sense. What would the spread of the different play styles do you think would make a good team?
I think you've got to have a guys that are willing to take risk for your team. I think that risk can be good. I think that you can't. I think you got to have guys that are, as silly as this factor is, willing to try and pull the revive, willing to try and get back in there, not willing to, not backing down from a fight, even though you may be outnumbered. So I think that's one important characteristic.
Yeah, I mean, look at Kofrei's team and them. I mean, they win so many, and I mean, they're just all aggressive.
They're all aggressive.
And the good teams are all willing to take a risk. They can all snipe, and they all can play close quarters combat. Every single one of them. And yes, there's, I'm sure, flaws in each of those individual parts of their game, but overall, they can snipe and they can beat you close. And it's like a good basketball player. If he can shoot from the outside and he can drive on you, he's tough, man.
Yep.
He's tough, and he's going to score on you. You got to do your best to play defense and minimize the losses at times, because you're going to get popped. They're going to hit you. They're going to hurt you. But you've got to do your best to try and slowly, methodically take them down piece by piece. Easier said than done, but that's the only way.
If I were to build a perfect team, in my sense, in my opinion, a perfect team, I don't think I would have all 4 players being aggressive. Or I don't think I would have all 4 players being aggressive. I wouldn't have all 4 players being tactical, and I wouldn't have all 4 players being passive. I think I would have 2 players who like to be aggressive. They want to push shots, they want to push fights, they want a third party. So I think I would have 2 players who are aggressive, so they can complement each other. If they decide to push a fight, at least they're not going in by themselves. They're gonna help each other out. And then I would have 1 person who's tactical, and then 1 person who's passive, because I think I can rely on those 2 aggressive guys to try to pick up a few points in the early game. Try to maybe knock a team down by a person or 2, and then I think I can rely on the tactical guy to kind of be maybe the IGL, the in-game leader. He's trying to say, all right, like, let's go take this compound. We need to rotate. Let's go this direction. Let's rotate this way. And then the passive guy, I think I can rely on him. If the two aggressive guys get knocked or they go down, and it comes down to just the tactical, and the passive guy, the tactical guy can try to pick up the slack. Try to lean a little bit more aggressive. And if he goes down, I know the passive guy is going to be like, all right, hey, I'm sorry, buddy, I'm out of here. I'm going to try to get us those placement points now, and just go and snake in the woods, or snake and just hide in a bush in like Gatka Fields or something like that. So I think I think that's like the perfect team. If everyone's good, I think that's like a perfect blend in my sense.
For sure. I can definitely agree with that.
So Ignite, you've been awfully quiet. I feel like you definitely have something to say.
Well, when it comes to my personal play style, obviously I'm pretty much tactical, just like you.
Yeah.
Just like the rest of our team. But when it comes to the perfect team, I kind of disagree with the passive player. I just don't like the passive play style at all. I don't. You've seen me complain about it so many times.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it. So I would personally in my team, I wouldn't want a passive player at all. I mean, 2 tactical players, fair enough, but not a passive player. I just don't agree with the play style.
So you would have 2 aggressive, 2 tactical, and with those 2 tactical players, would you have 1 try to lean towards aggressive? He's still in the tactical play style, but would you have 1 lean towards the aggressive side and 1 lean towards the passive side, or how would you try to control those 2?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, pretty much. One be a little bit less passive, and then the other one be a little bit more aggressive on the tactical side of it.
Okay.
I would agree, because obviously 3 people trying to pick up points is better than 2.
You
still need them to be there for your other teammate as well.
So with those 2 tactical players, let's say for some reason in my head, I keep picturing like 2 teams fighting, and they're fighting in that compound to the east of Quarry, not that little warehouse compound, but that compound just at the bottom of that hill. Do you guys know which one I'm talking about? It kind of like curves a little bit. I don't know why that compound keeps coming into my mind, and it's a specific building too. It's that long building with the roof on it, like the 2-story building with the roof on it. That's the building I keep thinking of. So as I'm like talking about this, I'm picturing in my head, a team is pushing from the south. They're pushing through the woods from like Ferry Pier. And the 2 aggressive guys, they're pushing out into the woods. They're trying to keep them at bay. They're using their trees. They're using smokes, whatever. They're trying to keep them at bay. Let's say in Ignite's perfect team, he has the 2 tactical players, 1 leaning towards aggressive, 1 leaning just a little bit towards passive. I have the tactical leaning towards aggressive. He's up on the roof. trying to keep like some long distance fire on them. So they always have to kind of be scurrying away, doing whatever. And then the tactical leaning towards passive player, he might be on that second story looking for other teams who might be trying to third party, laying down some automatic fire on vehicles as they might be rotating through that area to make sure they don't stop. And all of a sudden now we're spread out too thin. I don't know why, but that is the situation that I just have in my head as we're talking about this. And in that specific spot too.
I don't know why it's that specific spot.
Yeah, see, personally,
So many different
my
places.
team, we usually stay on each other's hip. Like, we try to fight the whole fight together. So, I don't know. I don't really like when people stay back because if shit happens, we got 2 nades on us, we're both down up there, then you're so far away.
It could be one bullet away from getting that last kill and taking their squad
Yeah,
out.
something like
One
that.
bullet
And then
away,
y'all just
you know?
can't get the angle or something, or you know what I mean?
So they could, yeah. So I like what you say, Maddie. They could be one bullet away, but you might not necessarily. I mean, you as the commentator and the host, you would be able to see that. So you would know the drama that's going on between two teams fighting. Would you want to throw your entire team, commit your entire team to a fight, knowing that there's a possibility that you might have just thrown out one entire game where you might not get any points at all? Or would you want to have that slight reserve that might be able to pick up, at least 1, maybe 2 points, so it's not a complete waste?
Really, that's a great question, and I think that every squad gets in a position where they have to ask themselves that, is it worth taking this fight, even though we've got 2 guys knocked, already cleared, whatever, or should we bail, go for the placement? And, there's a lot of variables. It really depends. It depends on the team that you've ran into. It depends on the match. It depends on the circumstances of the cash tournament, the last match, where are you currently at based on your previous 2 matches. So it really depends, and I've seen teams pull out of fights and be very successful with it, even as a one-man playing the super, super slow game and pick up 50 points for a 5th place finisher, maybe even sneak into 3rd or 2nd, So it really depends on the circumstances, but I'll tell you this, you can never be too big to back down from a fight, because the second you do, it's going to really bite you in the butt. You've got to know when to turn away from a fight, regardless if you've lost players.
So let's see how good your memory is, Maddie. After I got picked up by Direct Assault, there was a tournament and we were playing on Sandhawk. I think, I can't remember if it was the 2nd or 3rd game, but my team decided to drop Sami. And I'm pretty sure the other team that landed there was prison inmates. But the other 3 guys on my team, they all got killed. And I said, hey guys, I'm sorry. I'm going for placement. There's no way I'm going to be able to take on a 1v4, 1v3 and come out on top. I'm going to just try to get placement. So I'm pretty sure one of my players was still knocked. He wasn't actually finished yet, but I got on a bike and I got out of there. The circle ended at the little inlet just southwest of boot camp, where you could pretty much
cross all
dock
3.
a boat. Yeah, and throughout the game, as I was slowly getting to that point, I ran into maybe the occasional player, or I was able to third party something and just not shoot at guys who were still up, but I was able to steal knocks. So I think when I got to the final circle, I had somewhere between 9 to 11 kills. But I had to cross the water from the southwest island to the main island. And I'm swimming and I'm hiding behind one of the giant rock structures that's in the water. And there was another guy actually hiding at another rock structure in the water. And I shot at him and he swam around the other side. I think someone sniped him and killed him. But I swam and I'm in that little inlet to the southwest of boot camp. I'm on the main island now. There's, I think it was like 8 people left, including myself. But there was one team on the coast essentially there was two hills. So I'm like in a little valley, and one of the teams was coming down from the hill with that guard tower, the hill south of boot camp. They were coming down from that hill, but they were heading north. And then there was a team on the coast, and they were shooting at each other. And I'm in this little inlet, so they can't really see me without over peeking. And they just completely, essentially, mutual destruction. They annihilate each other. 2 players survive on the team north of me, and the team to the south of me completely gets destroyed. And somehow I get, like, the final circle. But it's a 1v2, and I'm hiding behind this rock. And I'm able to knock and kill one of them, and then the other one kills me. The point of this story, though, is I took on that passive playstyle. You could say it was a slightly tactical playstyle, but leaning more towards passive because I was third partying, but I was only going for the guys that were knocked. I didn't want to engage guys that could have shot back at me. And in doing so, I ended up racking up some kills and found myself getting a second place position. So I was able to get net some placement points. So I don't know if you remember that game, Maddie. It was actually quite a while ago, but it was probably one of the best games I've ever had.
I do remember seeing a fight that happened in that inlet you're talking about. I don't remember the specifics, but I do remember seeing a fight, and I remember people using kind of those rocks in between as cover. I don't remember it though, but I know that is a smart play, and that can be the difference between winning and losing a tournament is saying, okay, it's time to bail out of this. It's time to play tactically passive, pick up the third parties where you don't have to go out of your way to kill a knock already if you got a sniper rifle. And 80 placement points for second place, and you pick up 3 kills, that's 100 points. That is huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
And in a game where it seems like, or in tournaments where it seems like first place tends to have maybe anywhere between 275 to 375 points, turning a situation that could have been, hey, we just went out in last place, we threw a game, we didn't get anything from it, turning that sort of situation into all of a sudden now we have some kill points and we placed second, it can be a huge turnaround. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Free Smoke, do you think that's something that might help, or is your team kind of the guys like, you know what? No, we're gonna prove that we can take any fight.
We know when we have to back off, and we do that same thing sometimes. But like if the people are low on health in the beginning at that fight, we might try to just take it. It just depends. It really all depends on a lot of things, for real.
Depends on some of the information that you have, like where they're at, what kind of what team it is.
If I don't know where they're at and like shit's messed up, then we'll probably just turn back and try to do what we can. But on Sandhawk, you have to have luck on your side too, because you don't know where people are coming from. The map is so small. You don't know who's rotating where. You got to kind of get lucky and be smart at the same time. But yeah.
So I think on Sandhawk specifically, you can get away with a lot on Miramar and Erangel, and maybe not a lot, but you can still get away with quite a bit on Vikendi. But with Sandhawk specifically, I almost always want someone to be looking out for a third party. I don't care if it's me or not. Like, you know what? Hey, the three of you guys go ahead, engage those players. If you need me, let me know. But I'm going to try to keep an eye out for a third party. If I see one, I'm going to try to pull you guys back, because that's a situation we can't be fighting 2 teams on various fronts. So I agree with what you say. You definitely kind of need to be lucky. Luck is kind of part of it with
in the sense of where people
Sandhawk.
rotate to and all that.
I know something you said earlier, Maddie, definitely plays a part into it. So I think some people will try to become good at all of the various different playstyles, and then they might pick and choose what playstyle they're going to implement based on what map they're on.
Yeah.
With Sandhawk, I feel like a tactical playstyle will benefit you the best, because with so many teams in a small map, your placement and where you're at is huge. So you want to be able to play with a bit of a tactical playstyle. But when it comes to like Erangel and Miramar. Miramar, you have a lot of that terrain that you can play around. So you can be aggressive, leaning slightly towards tactical, and you can get away with it. But on Erangel, the difference between Erangel and Miramar is a lot of Erangel is flat. You have a lot of flat open ground. So you kind of have to...
Yeah, certain places there's not even many trees or anything. And it's just straight.
Exactly. So you kind of have to mix and choose.
If you're on foot.
Yeah. So you might have to mix and choose, especially depending on the flight path with Erangel, because there's vast locations of the map that are open, and then there's vast locations of the map that are... You got plenty of cover. So you might want to choose between an aggressive, a tactical, or a passive playstyle.
Yeah, we definitely don't just go aggressive the entire time. We definitely choose when to be more tactical or passive. If there's only one alive, we'll definitely be behind a rock or in a bush waiting to see if it's going to be a 1v1 or 1v2, 2v1v1 or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what we hope for. Unless it's a 4v1, then you're pretty much fucked.
I think one of the last questions I have is, do you think the flight path can be a factor on what kind of play style you're going to implement for a game?
Depending on where we have to drop, then yeah, if we got like a plane going straight east to west, lower than like right above military base, then yeah, we're probably going to end up playing more tactical because we'll probably, I don't know, land some random compound or whatever, spread out a little bit.
Yeah,
it's funny you brought up that. That's a funny flight path you brought up, free smoke, because that's the exact one I thought of. How a certain plane path could really change your play style, and that is literally the first plane path type I thought of, right above military base, west to east, east to west, and how you might have to drop some random compounds because you can't get to the Georgia pool or somewhere like that.
Yeah, you don't want to go military base because you know there's going to be 30 people there.
Exactly. So that's a really good example.
So, Maddie, have you seen teams that you know that are aggressive and teams that you know are a bit more passive? Have you seen them kind of take on a different role based on their location, because they might be landing in a spot that they're not comfortable with or that they don't normally land? Have you seen something like that before?
You know, it really depends. If you use the example that Free Smoke gave, that's definitely going to change things up. And once again, I know I bring this up a lot, but it depends really on the match that we're in and if it's a cash or free tournament. But being around that area specifically, for sake of conversation, I think it's going to make players be a little bit more tactical, and it's going to even force them to potentially be more aggressive, especially if the zone does indeed finish at military. They're going to have to be aggressive potentially to get across, and then once they get there, depending on where they end up, if they end up on the south part, they might be okay. There might be a team at one of those compounds. Man, a lot can happen on a plane path like that, so that could completely change the dynamics of the game with a plane path, and then the zone lands on military.
I know in the last episode I talked a lot about how I watched the PEL and NPL games, and it seems being able to watch the different teams, and everyone has like a set drop location, and they have a backup drop location, and obviously they're professional players. That it's not the competitive scene; it's the professional scene. I have seen teams based on flight path, or if you want to go into it, drop location. I have seen teams take on a different play style based on where they're at. Say Team Liquid or FaZe Clan, they're a bit more aggressive people, but they will completely change their play style based on the hand that they're given. And I think sometimes a team that's always aggressive or always passive could try to change their gameplay up based on a flight path. So
Definitely.
those are my last 2 cents. Do any of you guys have anything else to add?
No, I think you know, you kind of covered the broad spectrum in terms of you know the different play styles and kind of how they blend together and the importance of each. You did a good job there.
Ignite, what about you? You've actually been quite quiet today. You've been quite quiet for this episode.
Hey, Friesman, it's nice to kind of hear some of those boots on the ground experience. It's nice being in the commentator booth, but bottom line is I don't have the skill set that you guys have. So to be able to hear from, the boots on the ground where it's really happening and really taking the shots, it's really interesting to hear because, it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and like my team's play style. Hold up, I just spaced out. Oh shit.
it's all right.
So your team's
Hold on.
playstyle is a bit more aggressive.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know what I was gonna say. You have to have a lot of confidence in your team too.
That's a good point. I think building
And I
that
think
chemistry and huge.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah. I think my new team that we got together is really good for the aggressive play style. I mean, we obviously switch it up as we need to, but yeah, I like it. I like the aggressive play style more, in my preference.
Yeah.
It's just more fun. And if you do get like, say, 16 kills in a match and you win, that's just
Oh,
huge.
dude, you set yourself
Or
up
even like third
really
place
nicely.
or fifth place, just on top of like 16 kills, or even like
It
12
goes
kills
back to
or something like that.
it's that risk reward, Are you willing to roll the dice for
Yeah,
potentially taking out
definitely.
4 members of a team, 28? I mean, are you willing to do it? How are you going to do it if you're willing to do it? Are you going to push the hard third party? Are you going to do the tactical third party? So many scenarios.
Yeah. It depends on a lot. Every time is different.
So for
Absolutely.
those of you listening, one thing I would recommend is when you get into a public lobby, play aggressive. Push everything you hear, push everything you see. Reasoning for that, you want to try to put yourself into those difficult
High-stakes
scenarios where you can hone your skills, you can hone your talent, you will learn how to react for every various situation. That way, when you get into a competitive lobby, you know how to handle a situation and you will know whether you need to be aggressive, whether you will need to be tactical, or whether you'll need to be passive, and just try to play that snake game and net yourself those placement points. So at the end of the day, all we're here to do is give you some ideas. We're here to make those cogs in your brain spin, maybe try to help you change up your gameplay. We're not here to give you the keys to the kingdom. We're not telling you this is the way you need to play. We're helping to just widen your spectrum on how to play PUBG. I think that's
Definitely
going to...
pushing in public matches is how I got way better. And
Yeah,
then since Maddie
yeah.
started up the tournament page, my gameplays came up 100%, no doubt.
And I can
Yeah.
completely agree with that. So I think that's going to wrap it up today from Direct Assault. Thank you guys for listening. Maddie, thanks for being our guest speaker. For all of you guys listening, go ahead, press that follow, press that subscribe button. Go ahead and head over to Facebook, look up Real Player ESports. If you're into the if you're a console player and you like playing competitive and you think you're good, look up the event section, try to find a tournament. Maybe you'll hop into a free tournament once, check it out, then you'll start getting into the money tournaments. Hope to see you out there.
Free tournament.
Yep, hope to see you out there. And until next weekend, thanks for listening.
Peace.